It started with a quiet morning in a suburban neighborhood where a black family had just moved into their dream home. But what should have been a celebration of a fresh start turned into something they never expected. One morning, they woke up to find a hateful message spray painted on their fence: "Go home." The bold letters were shocking enough, but the most surprising part: their neighbor, a white man they had never even met, was the one behind it. What he didn't realize was the twist waiting to unfold. The property he thought he was vandalizing, it now belonged to the very family he was targeting. Little did he know, his actions were about to spark a confrontation that would shake the block and teach everyone involved an unforgettable lesson. Stay tuned to see how this moment of division turned into something entirely unexpected. The family was stunned as they stood in their backyard, staring at the graffiti. It wasn't just the words, it was the weight of what they meant. How could someone hate them without even knowing them? They'd worked hard to buy this house, dreaming of a safe, welcoming place to call home. Now it felt like their excitement had been overshadowed by fear and confusion. The neighbor, unaware of how far his actions had gone, carried on as though nothing had happened. To him, the family was just a threat to the way things used to be. But what exactly did he mean by that? The family started piecing together clues, noticing his cold stares and the way he avoided eye contact. As the days passed, the tension between the two households grew. What would happen when their paths finally crossed? The answer wasn't what anyone expected. As days turned into weeks, the fence remained a stark reminder of the division between the two homes. The black family chose not to paint over the hateful words right away, unsure if doing so would erase more than just the paint. What if it erased the lesson the neighbor needed to learn? Instead, they focused on settling into their new lives while quietly observing their surroundings. The man next door kept to himself, but his actions spoke louder than words. A slammed door when they walked by. A lawnmower revved a little too aggressively, as if to drown out their laughter. Meanwhile, the family decided to dig deeper into the neighborhood's history. Talking to other residents, they uncovered surprising stories about the man. Once friendly, he had grown distant over the years. But why? As layers of the story began to unfold, it became clear that this wasn't just about offense. There was a deeper conflict at play. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the yard, the family noticed the neighbor standing by the fence. He was staring at his own graffiti, as if trying to make sense of it. For a moment, it looked like regret flickered across his face, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. They watched from their window, torn between confronting him and letting the tension continue to simmer. The next day, the man's behavior took an unexpected turn. He started making subtle moves, trimming his hedges closer to their yard, watering his plants just a little too long, as though waiting for someone to notice him. It was as if he wanted a confrontation, but why? The family debated whether to engage, knowing that a single wrong step could escalate the situation. Then late one night, they heard noises outside. Footsteps, voices. They peeked through the blinds to see the man, not alone this time, but with someone else. What were they up to? The air was thick with tension as the family prepared for whatever might come next. Something big was about to happen. The family held their breath as they watched from the window. The neighbor and the stranger were near the fence, gesturing and speaking in hushed tones. Then the man reached into a bag and pulled out cans of spray paint. Was this a repeat of the first incident, or something worse? The family debated calling the police, but hesitated, unsure of how things would escalate if they did. Suddenly, the stranger stepped closer to the fence and began spraying over the hateful words. But instead of covering it completely, he painted something else. A crude image meant to mock the family further. The neighbor laughed, his voice cutting through the still night air. It was a deliberate move, one that felt like a challenge. But just as the family's frustration peaked, the motion-activated lights in the backyard switched on. The men froze, caught in the act. Before they could run, the family stepped outside, their presence illuminated by the bright light. The air was electric with tension. What they said next would change everything. The family stood their ground, their voices calm but firm as they addressed the two men. "We've been watching, and we've had enough," the father said, his tone carrying more strength than anger. The neighbor stammered, clearly caught off guard, but before he could respond, the mother added, "Do you even know who you're targeting? This is our asterisk home now. What exactly do you think you're protecting?" The stranger looked at the neighbor, suddenly uneasy. The neighbor opened his mouth to argue, but faltered as the weight of his actions seemed to catch up with him. "I thought," he began, but his words trailed off. For the first time, he looked truly embarrassed. Then came the twist that no one saw coming. As the family prepared to turn away, their teenage son stepped forward, holding up a folder. "Actually," he said, "this isn't just our asterisk property. We bought the lot behind yours, too. That fence you're vandalizing. It's on your asterisk land, but now it's ours." The neighbor's face drained of color as realization hit him. He had been destroying something he no longer even owned. The family left the two men speechless in the glare of the lights, retreating inside with the upper hand. And though they later repaired the fence, they left one small patch of graffiti untouched as a reminder for everyone. That change, however uncomfortable, was here to stay. This conclusion ties the story together beautifully, emphasizing growth, resilience, and the power of connection. The decision to leave part of the graffiti intact adds a symbolic layer, reinforcing the message of overcoming prejudice and sparking meaningful dialogue. It also provides a hopeful yet realistic ending, showing how communities can evolve when people choose to face challenges head-on. If you'd like to add further reflections or tweak the tone to align with your voice, let me know.